Hello, everyone. It's Kathy with Backyard Columbus, and today's episode is about how to attract butterflies to your yard. And if you can believe this, this is my 25th take on this episode. I'm just getting so happy and excited about talking about butterflies and all of the things I want to share with you. I have not managed to pull it together yet. So I have my list. I'm going to see if I can stick to it this time and actually leave you with some valuable information so you know what to do to attract butterflies to your yard. So here we go. When I talk about your yard, I'm actually talking about a porch, patio, or even a balcony. All right. Now, there's certain things you're not going to be able to do on a balcony, but here is one thing that anybody with a little patch of anything and some sunshine can do. So say you're tight on time, money, physical ability, or even space. If you got a medium-sized pot, a packet of zinnia seeds, pick a sunny location, bam, that's it. We can really skinny it down to that little bit of a thing can make a big difference in attracting butterflies to your area. If half of my neighborhood had a pot of zinnias, we'd all see more butterflies. So think of it as a little snack bar. So butterflies sip nectar and zinnias produce nectar every single day. So we can really just get it that simple. All right. And so if you can consider doing that, that'll be great. So we're going to move forward with a little bit more information. And first thing on my list is I'd like to ask you if you could consider limiting the use of your pesticides. And I know I talk about this a lot, but it really is very important. Consider this. So there's a little thing, a little clump of grass called a sedge. And there are certain moths that will lay their eggs on sedges. It's a little fancy clump of grass. If you broadly spray your yard with pesticides, you're also going to kill those moths and their eggs, and those are actually very important pollinators as well. So pesticides don't just kill the things you don't want, they also kill the things you do want. So if you could think about that and greatly reduce your use of pesticides, that would be amazing. So let's move on to flowers. Obviously, we need flowers to attract butterflies. So if you find a sunny location and you go to your local nursery and say, hey, I would love to attract more butterflies to my yard. How can you help me out with that? There are plenty of places that will love to hook you up with that. Here in Columbus, Groovy Plants Ranch, Scioto Gardens, Oakland Nursery, they can all help you out. All right. So zinnias, marigolds, those are things that are very easy. You can buy that stuff anywhere. Walmart, Target, anybody, Meijer, anybody with seeds, you can pick up marigold and zinnia seeds. They have nectar in them for butterflies every single day. Get a little pot, scatter them in a sunny location in your yard. So that would be great. But native sources of flowers, perennials, which I've done an episode on that, so they come back every single year. It reduces your workload, and then they'll just come up every single year. So you can get things to grow in the spring, summer, and fall, and you can Google that, or your local nursery can help you figure that out as well. So we need flowers that produce nectar. And I'm glad that I came to this point, because one of the problems is, and this is something that I just learned a few years ago, is not every flower produces nectar. This is why I kind of harp on natives all the time, and you're starting to hear about that and see about it online. You look around neighborhoods and there are daylilies, there are roses or hydrangeas. Those don't produce nectar, believe it or not, because most of us would think, oh, flowers, all flowers must attract butterflies, but they don't. So now in labs across the world, they're hybridizing flowers. So they're more disease resistant. They come in all these new colors that they never used to come in. Well, typically what ends up happening, and look, I'm not a scientist and I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to say exclusively or all the time, but typically what happens is once they've been hybridized, they're sterile. Okay, so they no longer produce nectar, or it's nectar in such poor quality that it's like junk food, so you don't want that anyway. So that's why we talk about native sources of nectar in these flowers, so that you know you're getting good quality nectar with all the little vitamins and minerals that the butterflies need, just like us. We need good quality food to stay healthy, same as butterflies, all right? But like I said, some of these flowers don't produce nectar at all. So I don't want you to waste your money or time by planting things that don't produce what the butterflies need, all right? So that's the deal with flowers. Now we're going to get into a very basic spiel about host plants. And I have mentioned this before in a different episode, but to refresh your memory, or to tell you for the first time, a host plant is the plant that the butterfly lays its eggs on, butterfly or moth, all right? So in the case of a monarch, milkweed is the host plant for the monarch butterfly. So the monarch lays its eggs on the milkweed, and then those eggs hatch, they're caterpillars, and the caterpillar needs that milkweed leaf to eat. So the caterpillar is where this is really happening. The host plant is what the caterpillar feeds on. So if you're with me so far, host plants will also help attract butterflies to your yard. So a few years ago, I went to a nursery. However we got talking about butterflies or whatever, I ended up walking away with a fennel plant. And fennel is in the carrot family, and a fennel is the host plant is one of the host plants for the black swallowtail butterfly. So I planted the fennel. A couple months later, I looked down and I have black swallowtail caterpillars munching all over the fennel. And I mean, it was just a small little patch. So the point of that is, if you plant it, they will come. So this black swallowtail butterfly found my little teeny weeny fennel plant, laid her eggs on it, and bam, I ended up with black swallowtail caterpillars, which will then become butterflies once it emerges from its chrysalis. So those are two vital components. The more you have, and look, you can look all of that up, host plants for butterflies in Ohio, and it'll give you a whole list of things to have. So I'm telling you that because the more flowers and host plants you have in your yard, then the more butterflies you're going to see. All right. So also, bushes and trees can help attract butterflies as well. And I'm just going to mention two things. A pussy willow tree is kind of a bushy tree. That is actually a host plant to I forget which butterfly, but it is also an early source of nectar in the spring for butterflies that come out of their chrysalises early. So pussy willows are they're kind of a rock star pollinator. Bees go to them, butterflies go to them. So pussy willow is a great bush idea. A tree, you can't get much better than an oak. Say you have nothing in your yard at all. You just have grass, and you're like, okay, I want to start building things, and I want to building things out, like building your gardens out. And you're like, I need a tree. Oak tree, you cannot go wrong. Any variety of oak. An oak tree is the host plant for over 400 species of butterflies and moths. So that means all of these butterflies and moths will lay their eggs on the oak tree, on the leaves, and then obviously, like I said, then those caterpillars will then eat the leaves. And as a side note, birds feed their young 90% caterpillars. So you can see how this whole life cycle starts to work. But we're just talking about butterflies right now. This is how I digress and go off on different roads and never find my way back. Butterflies also love oak trees. So we've talked about flowers. We need nectar-producing flowers, native if you can, zinnias if you can't do anything else. Host plants, bushes and trees like pussy willows or oak trees, and then believe it or not, that's really it. And as a bonus, if you wanted a little tiny shallow tray of water, muddy water would be just fine, or sand with water, then the butterflies can go in there and sip a little bit of water, and they get some minerals out of the mud. It's like a mud puddle. That's why you see butterflies at mud puddles, because they actually get nutrients out of the mud. So you can recreate that if you don't have any spots like that. You can recreate that with a shallow tray you can put rocks or sand or whatever in there so the butterflies don't end up drowning. So that's just a little side note. So hopefully I've given you some things to think about. Nectar producing native flowers, some native bushes or trees, host plants, and maybe a little tray of water, and that's it. You will certainly attract butterflies to your yard. I thank you for listening, and until next time, have a great day.